Hello, chess fans. It's November 10th, 2022. This is Sean from the E5 Outpost, a segment for adult chess improvers who want to keep aware of some of the latest ideas and events in the chess world. Today we've got three stories that we're going to look at. First up is the Fall Chess Classic in St. Louis. Round 8 was just played. We'll briefly go over Hans Niemann's game from yesterday. Next, the next leg of the Chess.com Speed Chess Championship qualifier is underway. We'll go through a quick run-through of who is already qualified, and we'll take a look at one of the games from last year's finals to give you a taste of what type of chess you can expect from this event. Later, we'll talk about Kevin Spraggett, who was born on this day in 1954. Spraggett is widely considered to be the strongest chess player in Canadian history, with a peak FIDE reading of 2633 and 7 Canadian titles to his name. We'll take a look at one of his early games from before he achieved the GM title later. So continuing from yesterday, the Fall Chess Classic continues. Round 8 just concluded, with Nyzhnyk continuing to lead the field with 5.5 points, half a point ahead of the rest of the field. A draw today would mean that he secures first, so we'll see how he chooses to play. But we'll go ahead and analyze a different game from yesterday. This is between Illya, Nyzhnyk, and Hans Niemann. It's a Sveshnikov, similar to the Nyzhnyk game that we analyzed yesterday. This time, Hans decided to play with a6, b5. This is all theory so far. The idea is that Black is opening lines to get piece activity. Black is choosing to take on a few weaknesses in order to get, in order for his pieces to have prospects in the future. Black also still retains this f5 idea sometimes. In this position, I've seen rook takes a4, knight e3 also looks good. But Nyzhnyk decided to play knight b4, which didn't really look so good. I think, right, so after takes, this is a little strange. This knight doesn't really want to be on this square. Like, it wants to continue to be on d5, continuing to put pressure on the dark squares. And also in this position, white has a bit of a space advantage. So it's not really clear that you want to exchange your knight, especially not for this knight, which you'll see it doesn't really have any prospects currently. It has to reroute a little bit to get good. Obviously, you're not coming here or here. You're going to get captured. This doesn't really lead anywhere because it's not like you're heading to c4, which is already covered by the bishop. And if you come to e7, I might play knight takes f6 and break your pawns. And it's not really clear that that's Black's best way to play in this position. So it seemed like by playing knight b4, Nyzhnyk helped Niemann solve the problem of what to do with this knight. And I think the tactical point behind this is that, okay, you don't get rook takes b2, and I do get knight takes a6, hitting your rook. And then I also get queen a4, capturing here and defending here. But there are too many dynamic factors at play here, and all of them favor Black. Like, there's this pin on the a file that favors Black. Obviously, this weak e4 pawn, that's going to be annoying to deal with. This king is still uncastled. It's still 2 moves away from castling. So it felt like there were too many things that were good about Black's position here. Even just at the investment of 1 pawn, it's not really clear that this is how white should be playing here. And so, right, so Niemann broke in the center with d5. Usually this is not an easy move for Black to play in these sorts of positions, but now Black gets the move in. White doesn't really want to capture because after Black recaptures, more lines are open and this king still isn't castled. That's not good. This bishop is about to become a monster. You can also imagine that after takes e4, maybe this bishop becomes good at some point. Right, so already the position is looking a little bit dire. Actually, Nyzhnyk had to sacrifice the pawn in order to castle, and still the position looks tough for white. Material is now even again. Black's pieces are just so much better. Like, it's still just not clear what's the purpose of this knight here. This bishop, it doesn't really have any targets. Is it supposed to come to c4 and hit this? Like, what is this bishop going to do? And meanwhile, Black's pieces just seem to make a lot of sense. This seems to make a lot of sense. This is going to make sense in the future, maybe. Otherwise, it's pretty easy to sort of reroute this bishop to a more useful diagonal if need be. Currently, it's covering this pawn. Black's pieces just seem to make a lot more sense than white's pieces. So here, Hans went and tried to open up more lines to white's king, e3. Black doesn't really mind if white captures here because, I mean, black already has this going on. Nyzhnyk decided not to open up this diagonal, tried to keep it closed a little bit by playing f3. White continued trying to open up lines by playing e4. And then we saw in this position, white continued to have problems. Black had now a passed e-pawn that was very easy for black to defend. You see, the queen is not really good blockader. The queen would rather be doing other things like attacking at some point, but that's not going to happen. The queen has to stay here and blockade now. This knight continues to be a very bad piece for white. This bishop now is actually has a lot of potential. You can see that white doesn't even have plans of pushing these queenside pawns. If this, then obviously this hangs, but also maybe the bishop has plans of coming to d4, and this king is maybe not feeling so safe. Obviously, you also can't push this pawn because c3 is hanging. So black's position is just hard to figure out, or white's position is hard to figure out what to do. Black's position looks great here. And we saw at the end of the game, actually, there was this really nice tactical shot by Niemann. Rook takes a6, and white resigned in this position. If you take with the rook, you're actually getting mated. This is cute, right? And if you take with the queen, I'm going to queen this pawn because the queen's no longer blockading here. So, right, e2 check, and then after a move like this, I'm up a piece. You have to play rook f1. I'm up a piece. I'm playing maybe even like queen e3 check. This is just really, really not good for white. So in this position, Nyzhnyk resigned. Next, we'll talk about the Chess.com Speed Chess Championship. The next leg of qualifiers is underway. If you take a look at the screen, we've already got a bunch of familiar faces up there. Magnus Carlsen, the #1 in the world. Hikaru Nakamura, the winner of last year's Speed Chess Championship. Ding Lorenda and Jan Nepomniachtchi, the two players who will be fighting for this year's classical title, or for next year's classical title, rather. We'll take a look at one of the games from last year's finals. This is between Hikaru and Wesley So. Hikaru is on the black pieces, and this shows off Hikaru's excellent tactical vision. This was a Berlin. At this point, Wesley plays bishop a3. He wants to get in b5 with the idea of hitting this knight and hitting this queen. However, Hikaru already has this idea of e4, I'm hitting this knight already. The idea is if you play b5, I'm playing pawn takes, and your own queen's under attack. So if you capture here, I'm capturing here. That's not good. White can choose to capture on f3, but if he does so, black actually has this move, bishop c5, and now I'm attacking this bishop. And if you, choose to make this trade, it's not clear. So where is your king going, right? Is your king going to castle here with these weak pawns? Or is your king going to castle here with these weak pawns? The engine actually suggests castles, funny enough. It doesn't even want to recover this pawn immediately. It says, go ahead and take here. But yeah, this is a very, very bad position already for white. So Wesley chose not to go in this line. Instead, he played d takes e4. And after bishop takes and castles, black already had a much better position. Actually, black's already threatening checkmate. And because this tactic didn't work out for white, this bishop is absurd. Like, this didn't work out, and now this bishop is stuck behind these pawns, so it needs to reroute in order to develop. But once it does so, once it's already in the act of rerouting, we can see, like, white's position is just so bad. The entire queen side is completely undeveloped. You have this pin going on, so it's going to be really hard for this knight to get developed even. This bishop has already spent 2 turns, one going here and one going back. So in a classical game, like Wesley probably resigns here. In a blitz game, I mean, maybe he has some chances, but we can see even after knight takes e4, rook d3, this pawn's really gone. Like, where's it? You can't save this pawn. Wesley tried by playing queen e2, but this ran into a wild tactical move, knight takes f2, which caused Wesley to resign. This is just a crazy move, because this square is defended 4 times, but you can't capture the knight. If you take with the bishop, I'm taking your queen. If you take with the queen, then bishop takes e3. You can't save your queen now. If you take with the rook, I'm actually playing rook takes bishop, and I'm attacking your queen, and the idea is once your queen moves away, I'm checkmating you. And then if you take with the king, I'm also playing rook takes bishop, and like name a discovery check, right? So yeah, like I said, any way that white has 4 ways of capturing, and all of them are bad. And so in this position, Wesley resigned. Hikaru went on to win this match very convincingly, and last year, of course, he took home the Speed Chess Championship title. But this was the first decisive game in their match. And once again, yeah, this knight takes f2 move, that was wild. Finally, we'll take a look at one of the games of Kevin Spraggett. On this day in 1954, Kevin Spraggett was born, probably the strongest Canadian chess player, peak FIDE rating of 2633, and as I mentioned before, 7 Canadian titles to his name. So we'll take a look at this miniature which he produced before he even got the GM title. This is a Nimzowitsch defense. Rather unusual opening, especially at the high levels. This is an exciting game. Knight takes e5 played, so you can see why this game is exciting. I'm not sure, this might have already been theoretical at the time. If not, it's currently theoretical, this queen sacrifice. The idea is that after bishop takes d1, I'm getting bishop e5 check, and then obviously you're not blocking this check with the queen, so you're playing c6, and then after c6, d takes c6, I'm threatening c7 check, threatening your queen, and threatening your king. Otherwise, I'm also threatening c takes b7 check, also threatening this rook. So this is already quite a tough position. Black is actually already lost in this position if white knows what he's doing. And this is a nice game, instructive on like why not to bring the queen out in the opening, why developing your pieces is important, why piece coordination is important. So you see for the next few moves, white actually hits the queen with tempo several times in order to continue development. Knight c4, rerouting the knight to a more useful square and hitting the queen with tempo. This is the only move, one of the only moves that otherwise you're playing queen c7, which is passive. a3, again hitting the queen with tempo. And then bishop e3, again hitting the queen with tempo, developing, hitting here. And you see, right, in this position, after rook takes d1, white already has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces developed. Black has 1 piece developed. This queen, which is completely unsupported by anything else and has no targets. This is in the back rank still, this is on the back rank still, this is on the back rank still. These pawns haven't moved, so this bishop can't even develop. This rook isn't looking at anything. Right, so white's position is already pretty crushing despite only having 2 pieces for the queen. And you can see how white's pieces continue to coordinate well to create an attack on black's king, right? It's just so much square coverage. Everything is covered here. Black decided to return a little bit of material in order to try to alleviate his problems. But even so, like, these pieces are still stuck on the back rank. They're not doing anything. I'm not really sure what e5 was about, but in this position, Spraggett found bishop b6, and black just resigned. This rook actually cannot be saved. And once again, this is sort of the power of having your pieces coordinated and developed properly. Notice that every square on the d file is actually covered by something. Right? Every single square is covered here. And then the rook cannot retreat to e8, of course, because the bishop covers that. If the rook actually plays to c8, you're getting checkmated. So great little miniature here from Spraggett demonstrating the power of piece coordination, demonstrating the power of development, and why not to bring the queen out so early. Very dynamic game, very fun. All right, that's your chess coverage for today. We'll be out tomorrow, so we won't be back with more news and analysis until Monday. Until then, this is Sean from the E5 Outpost. See you later, chess world.